Good morning. Very excited today. Had a amazing card last night. UFC 170 headliner main event. Ronda Rousey, Sarah McMahon. Ronda impressed the shit out of me. I mean, bottom line, I was actually a little annoyed at Ronda. As you may know, Ronda has a real strong personality, love or hate, kind of thing. And people felt it strongly about Tito Ortiz, and I'm not putting her on that level yet per se, but she did that's just a fact of the matter, and I was more in a camp of disliking her, because to me she wasn't a dominant champion yet. Last night she beat Sarah in like 70 seconds or something, just over a minute. So newsflash, for starters. But I mean, she's armbarred a bunch of folks. I mean, I'm not impressed by people like Liz Carmouche. I'm not impressed by people like Miesha Tate. Let's not forget, Miesha Tate got her chance after Kat Zingano, the legit #1 contender at women's bantamweight, fell out because of injury. Okay, I think Miesha's, first of all, not even close in quality, and we know what happened, in that fight. But the point is that, I wanted to see more, especially with all the hype. I don't know that she lived up to all the hype that she's been getting, both in the ring or in the octagon and outside the octagon with entertainment, movie deals and stuff like that. So, she's gonna be on the show Entourage and stuff like that. I like to not only respect a fighter because of their skills, but what they do outside of the cage. Well, the bottom line is that I'm impressed. She is just impressive. So let's talk about it. She finishes Sarah with a body shot, a knee to the liver, which is just cool to say. Bottom line, dropped her like a bag of potatoes so quick that my wife and I were like shocked, like what happened. It was one of those, disappointment, anger kind of feeling. Was it a quick stoppage? Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think it was, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't think that Sarah would have won the fight. I mean, I was in the first like 20-30 seconds thinking Sarah was going to knock Ronda out, hitting her with nasty, mean shots in a boxing game. She wasn't scared of Ronda at all, nor do I necessarily think she should be. But then they clinched, and I was surprised Sarah let that happen. And I think that if it was later in the fight, I don't think that it would have happened, to be honest. I think Sarah is the stronger fighter, but again, it happened so quickly. And let's start with that. Ronda performs well under pressure. She's a strategist. She executes, to her plan, So in any case, the point is that she pushed Sarah against the fence, I mean, a little surprised to see that. And that's to Ronda's credit, folks. She's younger. She's a judoist, so she's not a wrestler, but she's an athlete. She's a better athlete, I think. Younger, than Sarah. Sarah may not get another shot, on another note. But, so, Ronda at least had kneed her once before, and it was effective. And I believe it went Sarah, with either that or a puncher. It was on the slope before finally dropping her with that shot. So I'll just close out that commentary on that event and just say Ronda is money. You know what I mean? Who cares what happens next? I mean, maybe Kat Zingano, maybe Cyborg at some point, but you can't take a champion's glow. She deserves it. And, I think that like GSP or Dominic Cruz or a lot of the fighters who look like a champion, you know what I mean? Ronda's getting, deservedly, some of that. People want to see, you know what I mean? Not necessarily the prom queen, but, the fun, next door, likable, person with aura, as champion, as opposed to the bully per se, or somebody with a nasty attitude. So we'll move on. Daniel Cormier, Patrick Cummings, co-main event. The storyline was, Daniel Cormier has been on a hot tear, and admittedly, I was also kind of wanting him to lose. I thought he was, a little too cocky, seemed a little too confident in himself. By beating guys just like Roy Nelson, Frank Mir, Josh Barnett at heavyweight, who all, make no mistake, are decent gatekeepers. And that's just the bottom line. Who have you beat? That's legit. You know, so roads were pointing to Cain Velasquez, who's the heavyweight champ and is a good buddy of Daniel. And Daniel, being a solid dude at this point, I'm willing to say, didn't want to fight his buddy, you know, so moved down to light heavyweight, which I think is more appropriate. I think Cain could make light heavyweight, if I'm being honest as well. But Daniel, you know, he was carrying some extra weight. Solid athlete either way, but it looked like he could benefit from the weight cut. And after last night, which, by the way, he beat Patrick Cummings in similar fashion. Quicker time, I think, than Rousey in like a minute or so over Patrick. Looked like he made the right choice. So he looked good. Okay, so he beat Patrick. Patrick looked good. I'll say that too. You know, as far as physique, you know, as far as cage jitters, and he was ready. He was ready to go. No question about it. Problem is that he wasn't as good as a fighter. The thing that Daniel said, you have to kind of hold a little water to it. And here's what I'm most impressed by. Okay, you know, with these champions or these contenders at minimum, and I call Daniel a champion already, and Rousey obviously is a champion. It's a mindset. They're confident. They want nothing else other than a championship, and that's the mark, obviously, of any competitor. But not everybody is mentally strong enough. Daniel clearly is a mentally strong, or DC is a clearly strong enough mentally person. So the thing I'm most impressed by, so he beat Patrick Cummings. He's hitting him with uppercuts. Pat was on what we call a stanky leg, what I call the stanky leg. His training partner Mark calls the stanky leg. He was his brains were rattled. He got hit with an uppercut, or who knows when it happened, what flurry it happened, but Patrick was, you know, on a stanky leg real quick, and Daniel finished him. It was a funny moment at the very end after referee waved it off, or Daniel pushed, you know what I mean, Pat. Just like he did in a pre-fight press conference. A lot of people wondered, did he get into Daniel's head? Well, you know, I mean, Daniel kind of he said at the post-fight press conference that he was on his foot, which I believe. So, you know, Daniel came off as peer class. I mean, I love it when, you know, some people, you know, that are good, have earned my respect, and both Ronda and Daniel did that last night. Pat even made comments to the effect of Daniel's made comment to the effect that Pat has a bright future. He impressed me a lot. I think he's going to be the champ. You know, he's got a few obstacles, maybe a Phil Davis, obviously John Jones sits up there, but he's ready. I think he's better than John Jones. It's still a fight I'd love to see play out, but the point is that he's high caliber. He's class act, and he looked completely dominant in that. So, moving on, let's see what happens with Pat. I think Pat does have a bright future. I applaud the way he got in. I love guys who have stones and was willing to market themselves. So, you know, so we'll see what happens. But, you know, I obviously I'm stoked. Obviously I'm happy with the card. Mike Pyle looked really good against TJ Walderberger, who admittedly I didn't know before that. I barely know Mike Pyle, but I think he looks funny. I think he looks like Puck off Real World, but he fights not like Puck, I'll say that. And then Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald looked solid against. He looked hungry. He looked mad. You know, let's not forget, before the Robbie Lawler fight, people were talking about Rory as the next guy at welterweight, and he barely lost to Lawler. You know, which it seems like he could have won with just a little more aggression. I think he realized that he came out aggressive as hell, so aggressive that he let a guy like Damian Maia, a dangerous ground guy, put him on his back, and that was the only time he was in danger, was the first round. He came back. He never let that takedown happen again, without sweeping, or, you know, which is a mark of a great competitor, great artist as well, and convincingly won over Maia. So watch out, Rory's coming up. I'd love to see. I think Hendricks will beat Lawler, and I think Rory's there. I think I'd love to see that kind of fight. I don't know that he can beat Hendricks. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm solid on Hendricks too. He's just a solid wrestler. You know, I think. But he's definitely kind of established himself. as coming back. So I've reached my 10-minute time limit, but I could talk for another 10, 20, 30 minutes on the card. Watch it if you haven't seen it.